first off, he's taking his helmet off forever. He's helpless. Maybe change up a little bit. I'm kidding. Shot here. No, I've been a lifelong fan of Dredd. Since I was a teenager, I actually found it in a very weird way. I found it through a bootleg Commodore 64 game called Dredd. I'm not kidding, called Dredd. I kind of forget, you like this? It's full of shooting. I'm like, all right, cool, I'll play it. What is this character? I had no idea who it was, and I went searching for it at the local comic shop, and it was so hard to find. And eventually, I realized this whole, rich backstory, this whole body of work I was unable to find. It was very frustrating. So I grew up. Whenever I come across a Dredd story, I snap it up as a forbidden fruit, a Cuban cigar. I'm like, wow, that's alright, cool, and I have this. And now, of course, I'm in Age of Riches, where it's much more available, and you can find the Case File series is fantastic, and all this great stuff. But I've always had that, sort of. Love for the character, and when the opportunity came up, I was at first petrified. No pressure there, following John Wagner and all these amazing writers who have told countless Dredd stories over the years. I got past it because it was just too cool to not try. And my take on it is basically telling this it's an incredibly rich world, that's Dredd's world, and I wanted to sort of play in that world for a while, and maybe tell the stories that haven't been told yet. In terms of, it's a great vehicle for telling crime stories. He's a crime fan. In my other life, I read crime novels. So playing around in this sort of futuristic world where the criminals, and cops are, it's always stakes are being raised thanks to technology and all kinds of batshit crazy stuff. It's just fun to amplify the familiar cops and robbers kind of theme. And the two main characters to me, Chris and I talked about this early on, was Dredd, and Mega City 1 itself is an incredibly amazing character. I love crime novels where the city is a character. I'm trying to do that with this series.
I'm excited for you guys to see it because I was at a show recently with Jock in Ireland, and they had us sit on this panel, and ostensibly the theme of the panel was translating a property from one market to another. But all the panel was grilling me on why the hell does an American publisher think they can do Dredd? Americans have already proven they can't do Dredd right. So I'm excited for this thing to start because Dwayne's got a great take on it. We know what Dredd is. We saw what DC did, and we saw what worked and what you guys like and what doesn't work. So I'm excited to prove everybody over there wrong and show them that we get this and that that we're going to give you some Dredd comics that stack up nicely alongside everything that's come before. I'd love to talk more about that, but we should probably take a break and jump to the movie to people.
Shall we introduce our special guests?
We have a special surprise guest.
Can you welcome Karl Urban and Olivia Thornton?
What are we talking about? Okay, so the Dredd movie, I guess we should talk about now. Have we got anything specific you want to say? Or do you want to open it up to questions? Or?
I don't mind. I'm like you to know whatever it is you guys would like to know or discuss.
We've never seen it. You seen the movie?
The screening the other night, yeah? Only a few of you?
My friends didn't get in.
If folks could please line up the mic over there. There's a mic in the middle of the room. Line up. The rules for questions are you must phrase your question in the form of a question. And it's one question. Please step on up. Someone's got to be first. Yeah, he's got it.
Where's your helmet?
He is Dredd. How much could you sing in the helmet?
They had great revision in the helmet. That was one of the cool things about all the design elements in the film. They actually all fully functioning work from the lore master to the lore giver. And yeah, it was important to be able to see out of the helmet. But yeah, it was, that costume was, it was very important to Alex that this movie be tonally quite different than anything that's come before. And incredibly important for us that it be honourable to what was in the comic. So, in this movie, ostensibly Dredd wears a leather motorbike suit with body armor over the top, and that helmet is for protective purposes. You know, bullets, bike crashes. So, that was really what informed the design process on the film. We felt that, too much of the gold accoutrements like you're wearing, which are fucking great, by the way. Just want to put that out there. But we felt that, in our version that, realistically, like elements like the chain and too much of that sort of stuff would get caught up while he was, in combat and stuff. So we had to view everything through that particular lens.
It gets caught up just walking down. I'm thinking about Miss Carlton next year. Thank you very much. It's an awesome film. It's brutal.
Thank you.
Olivia, did you get to wear a helmet? Did you ride the bike? Was that you on the bike? Or did you get to come on for yourself?
I think I get to wear the helmet in one scene where I'm sitting on the motorcycle. And I probably should have admitted this, but my amazing stunt double Fleur did the actual riding of the motorcycle, because although I love to sit on it, my feet didn't touch the ground. Despite having lifts in my shoes and everything. So I had to leave the actual motoring up to her. But it was fun to get to wear the helmet for one scene.
I wouldn't leave my double near the bike. That's mine and I'm riding it.
Very true.
Love your work. Star Trek was awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing this as well. Just wondering how familiar you were with the source material and how you worked on becoming immersed in the character.
I got turned on to Dredd when I was about 17. I was working in a pizza parlour in Wellington, New Zealand. The manager of that was a really big Dredd head, and so I was attracted to not only the character of Dredd, but this sort of dystopian, futuristic world. I love the characters within the world. Quite a thing that I really liked about Dredd was that it was as much about people who were living in the Next City one as Dredd himself, and I always found that fascinating, like Kenny Coob and the heart transplant stuff, the little stories like Raider, little vignettes which I found so rich, and so that was I was being a fan of science fiction in general, films like Blade Runner. This was to me just it ticked all my boxes, and the character of Dredd himself and Anderson. I loved I love the stories like the story where Anderson gets the connection to Boeing, and so it was quite cool for me coming because I sort of read it and then went and hadn't picked up a Dredd comic for quite a while, and then I got involved in this, and then the really cool thing happened. I was able to reconnect with a whole bunch of stories and material that had been sort of subsequently written to when I was reading it, and so then I kind of got exposed to totally a whole different kind of Dredd. In my opinion, as the character gets older, the stories for me resonated with more depth. Like stories like Origins and Necropolis and America, and I found that there was just something about it that was just instantly, sort of affected me on a different level. Dredd questioning the big lie. Suddenly this whole amazing dynamic came out in the character where he can, in one direction serving one purpose, and it was single-minded, focus on upholding the law, and now he's coming, constantly this question's being asked of him. I find it so fascinating. I'm so looking forward to seeing where Dredd goes in the next couple of years. It's been really exciting.
We are too.
Hello. I'm just curious, what's it like trying to recreate Stallone's character?
That never happened.
It's cool, some people are into, motorbike outfits and body armor, and some people are into lycra. It's got four pieces, there's no problem with that. For me, as I said, you know, this is tonally couldn't be more different than anything that's come before. And I think by virtue of the fact that Alex Garland did such a supreme job of coordinating with Wagner, having meetings with him, and he was involved, as was Jock. You know, we were determined to get it right this time.
I have a question about your acting choices when it comes to playing the part of Dredd, because one, you were very brave, and I think we all applaud you as an actor for being humble enough to keep the mask on the whole time. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
A movie Judge Dredd, really respectfully, with taking the helmet off.
And my second point that has been a consideration for you as an actor is that Dredd is ostensibly a straight man to the weirdness around him. Normally, I know that actors look for a very distinctive arc in the story of a feature film, so that must have been another consideration for you, and I wonder how you approach that.
Yeah, good question. I mean, that's actually one of the things I love about this film, is that Dredd is the constant. Dredd is the, you know, the movable object. He's the stone. Everybody else is, you know, in flux and changing. And you know, really the story is Anderson's story in many ways. It's the story of how Anderson becomes a judge. And you know, Olivia really has the arc in this movie. But I would say there is an arc with Dredd. It's a very subtle one. And I'm not gonna give it away. But let's just say that in this movie, Dredd does something at the end of the movie that he would never have done in the beginning. Very subtle thing.
Karl, could you and Olivia talk a little bit about working with a legendary cinematographer and the mentor and what they brought to the film? The film's amazing looking.
Anthony is a creative force to be reckoned with. He's kind of like this tornado of like ingenious energy, and he did a lot of things with the 3D in this film that I think hasn't been done before, and he took a deeply artistic approach to the capturing the photography of this film. And I think it looks uncharacteristically beautiful, especially for something that's as graphically violent as it is. And I think besides being great to work with personality-wise, I think that the craftsmanship that he brought to this, you know, he kind of created his own little handheld camera, and so he could shoot 3D and super close-up, which hadn't been done before, and he created this effect that happens when Anderson is, you know, utilizing her psychic abilities, and I think it's a great cue for the audience. And, you know,